Alright, so I'm gonna give you my review of this game. You guys ready? So... I'll start with the negatives. Combat in this game, of course, is pretty shitty. Literally, all you do is you just click. Now they say, like, the people who defend the combat in this game, they claim that the shit that determines whether you hit enemies or not is extremely complicated, and I believe it. I'm sure it is very complicated. So what? That doesn't make the combat any less clunky and unfun. It's pretty basic, and also what also makes the combat less satisfying is the animations. You know, like if you look at these animations, like it happens quickly. It doesn't look all that good. You know, I mean, you can hold down the button. I never do this, like holding down the button. Apparently, if you do that, you do more damage or whatever. I don't know what the hell it does. Maybe you do more damage. Maybe you're more likely to hit. Whatever it is. What the fuck? I don't want that. Yeah, so the combat's not very good. Also, yeah, Nola Vani's sick. Let's hope she gets better soon. The story in the game. Now, there's an underlying story in this game, and if you delve into it, it's good. It can be very good. But you have to do a lot of reading. The problem is the way that the story is told to the player. It requires a copious amount of reading, of source material, books, of dialogue. And speaking of dialogue, the NPC interactions in this game are poor. Now, in all fairness, if you ever played Daggerfall, it's actually pretty similar to that. In the sense that the NPCs usually spout out generic lines and don't have... And since they spout out a generic line, they feel hollow and two-dimensional, like cardboard cutouts. They don't feel real, they don't feel alive. And that's a big problem. So it makes the world feel a bit more artificial and a bit more lifeless. Because the NPCs don't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like I'm talking to a real person. It feels like I'm talking to, you know, a cardboard cutout. Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm just starting with all of the things I don't like about the game first. Because I just want to get that all out of the way. Also, if you compare this to Dark Souls, just for the story, you could say that the lore in Dark Souls is good, and the lore in this game is good, but the way that the lore is told is different. In Dark Souls, you are told about the lore through item descriptions and through NPC interactions, and that's the other thing. The NPCs in Dark Souls are cool. Even if you don't really understand what they're saying is told in a very interesting way, because most of the NPCs in Dark Souls tend to be insane. They usually have like this weird laugh, which indicates madness. So they're compelling characters regardless. In this game, none of the NPCs really stand out to me. They're not very memorable. I mean, if you ask me to name any of them, the only one I can name off the top of my head is Caius. I can't really remember any of the others. So they don't stand out. The lore is also told in a different way. It's told in like very lengthy books in this game. So you have to do a lot of reading. And that can be pretty laborious. Some people like that, and that's great. But I would prefer a more natural way of telling the story. Also, another thing, if I compare this to Fallout 3, the story in that game was communicated in a better way. You would see scripted scenes. Like, the one that stands out the most is when the Enclave first arrives. So the story is able to be told through scripted scenes of people doing things, and actions unfold before your very eyes. Who can forget Sul Matul? I guess I do, because I can't remember who that is. That was my favorite part? I can't even remember. In this game, there are no scripted scenes, or at least so far, I haven't seen any scripted scenes. So it wasn't... The game doesn't have that. Which, you know, I can understand, it's an old game, but, you know, it's just something compared to newer games that you can say, well, you know, it can't tell the story as well because it doesn't have that, whereas the other games do. So, let me think. Is that everything I didn't like about the game? Oh, and the other thing. Oh, right. Price spent endless. Yeah, in fact, that is what I wanted to touch on next. There are too many times in this game where you'll be stuck and you don't really know what to do because the game is kind of obtuse, or it tells you to go somewhere. Like right now, I'm kind of guessing where I'm supposed to go. So I think I'm supposed to go down from here, but I'm not really sure. The game really does need a waypoint system to tell you where to go. You might say, oh, that's lazy, it's not as authentic, it's not as realistic, it's not like they had GPS back then. I don't care. I don't care about that. What matters is whether the game is fun to play, and I don't want to get stuck, you know, and like here I have to use descriptions to figure out where to go, and some people like that, they find it more authentic, but it doesn't appeal to me. The other thing is, way too often you do get stuck because of something obtuse, like the Sul Matul fiasco. You know, that has happened. You go somewhere and you get stuck, and it's not intuitive what you're supposed to do. That happens quite a bit. Stupid! Let's see. So, yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I didn't like about the game. If there's anything else, I'll mention it when I remember it, but I'm pretty sure that's everything. So let me go to the stuff I do like about the game. What I like about the game is the world. The world is just huge. Even though this is probably the smallest world in the Elder Scrolls game, not including the first game. It's so much more detailed than Daggerfall. And if you compare it to a game like Dragon's Dogma, which also had an open world, this open world is still larger. So it's still bigger. So, like, for 2002, that was a really major accomplishment. To have this level of detail in such a large world. And that pretty much makes up for everything else. That big world. Also, I will point out that the dungeons have been vastly improved over the dungeons in Daggerfall. Those were really crappy. They were way too labyrinthine. There's still maze-like in this one, but not as bad. But I do want to point out one more thing I didn't like. The inventory system. If you ever played Daggerfall, The inventory system in Daggerfall looks so much better. You can see a huge avatar of your character on the left side and all the items that you can equip on the right side, and you feel really invested in your character. In this game, I don't feel invested in my character at all. Look at this. This is who my character is. Why is he so tiny? You know, it's like he's supposed to represent me as the player, but yet he's represented by this tiny avatar. I can barely see him, so I don't even care about equipping him with cool armor or clothes. Like, you can equip them with clothes, but I don't even care about dressing them up. In Daggerfall, I actually didn't mind doing a little bit of dress up, you know, because it's kind of fun. You feel like you're the character, or you really want to make him look cool or make her look sexy, whatever. In this, there is no... If you have a female character here, making her look sexy is the last thing on your mind, because it doesn't look good. Like, for an inventory screen, like, this is supposed to be an RPG. What the hell? Why is the inventory screen so crappy? I really feel like this is a step backwards from Daggerfall. You know, when it comes to a role-playing game, they should really make this shit look good. But yet they made it look worse. I don't know how it is in Oblivion or Skyrim. I hope they improve that, because this looks like shit. This is my character. He doesn't even take up like 10% of the screen. In Daggerfall, he takes up like almost 50% of the screen. You can see the whole thing. And it looks cool when you equip him or her with armor or clothes. It just looks cool. You know, and when it comes to a role-playing experience, you're supposed to feel like you're the character. You know, and you want to develop the character. In this one, don't really care about that. So that's just how I feel. So yeah, it may sound like I bashed the game a lot. It may sound like that. But I gotta say, like, the world and the questing... Oh, and I almost forgot. I actually like the monster designs. I didn't want to forget that. I know Crimson said the monster designs look stupid. I don't know, she didn't like them. I like them. I think they look cool. Especially when you consider this is a 2002 game. Yeah, the animations are janky. They don't look very good. They're very stilted animations, and especially the flying animations look amateurish. But it's an old game. And he's kind of hobbling along, you know. But I think they look cool. And I like finding them. You know, sometimes you get ambushed with a ton of enemies, and that can be a little bit annoying, but when you consider that this is an old game, it's pretty impressive to have so many enemies attacking you at once. Sorry to interrupt, but you can actually resize the inventory sections, really? Let me see. Yes, you can. There you go. I can make them look big. Hey, there you go. There you go. See, like, I thought that, like, this would look terrible. It's like you can barely see him. Okay, this looks much better now. But still, even though you can resize them, and thank you for pointing that out to me, it still does not look as good as the inventory screen from Daggerfall. That I can definitely say. I prefer the way the inventory screen looked in Daggerfall. And that's an older game. Like, why the step backwards? That doesn't make sense to me. This one has invisibility on it. Oh, it's the same shoe. Same shoe. Daedra's heart. The value of this is so good, but it's way too heavy. Alright. So that's basically my review. Some still consider it the best Elder Scrolls. Some do. Yeah, some do. And I can definitely see why. Yeah, especially for 2002, this game was amazing. I do think newer Bethesda games are better. Like, I can't speak on Oblivion and Skyrim, but if I were to guess, they probably almost assuredly are much better than this game. And I probably would enjoy them a lot more. Okay, I hope this is the way. But I can safely say that Fallout 3 is a better game. That's not to say that this is bad. No, but like if I were to compare the two in terms of the open world experience and everything, you know, it just feels a little bit better, you know, more polished. You know, the scripted scenes, it feels more alive. That kind of thing. Alright, so where I'm heading to right now... Fallout 3, yeah, it's big, and I believe... I could be wrong, but I believe it is bigger than this world, and it's more detailed as well. As far as I can tell, it's bigger. I mean, it felt bigger. And as clunky as the combat is in Fallout 3, the combat's a lot more enjoyable than this game's combat. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm bashing on this game a lot. But let's just say that the positives of this game more than outweigh the negatives of the game. But, you know, I just wouldn't be honest if I didn't point out, you know, the negatives of the game, or what the game is kind of lacking in. Okay, is this it?